Hi, Yin Young listeners. On our podcast, we talk a lot about being a better version of ourselves, whether it's through martial arts, meditation, diet. And one thing I know Dan's been trying out is Magic Mind, labeled as the world's first productivity shot. It's an energy drink that has L-theanine in it, which is found in matcha, which I'm a big fan of, and has been shown to improve mental activity, along with a bunch of other good stuff. So, yeah, Dan, why don't you share a little bit about your experience?
I had a project at work and I thought, oh, this is a perfect time to try Magic Mind because I've just been a little scattered and I go to work, I get to work at about 6 a.m. So it's pretty early. And this is something that they recommend that you take with your caffeine. So I had a little bit of coffee and then had Magic Mind and it really did work for me. And I had a project where I had to look at rules and regulations, very boring stuff. But
Yeah.
because of Magic Mind, I started doing the work, looked at the rules and regulations. I knocked that out in 2 days. So something that I think would have taken a week only lasted 2 days. So
Justin Khan, the founder of Twitch, he drinks it. So, hey, if it's good for him, it's, good for us, I guess. And guess what? Magic Mind is our first sponsor. Yay. Thank you, Magic Mind, for sponsoring this episode. For our Yin Young listeners, if you go to magicmind.co/YNY and enter code capital YNY20, that's YNY20, within the next 10 days of this podcast release, you'll get up to 40% off your subscription of Magic Mind. So don't miss out. Now, if you're hearing this podcast after 10 days, no worries. The code will still get you 20% off a one-time purchase. So that's still a good deal. So anyways, all right, let's get to the episode and thanks. All right, we'll see you all. Yin Young.
Okay, welcome back, Yin Young listeners. This is episode 62, if we're on schedule, and yeah, this is gonna be a good catch up episode with Dan and I, just us two, and just talking and catching up on life and what I've been up to here in Tokyo, not Tokyo, but Japan. I'm in Mie, yeah. Yeah, I wonder. Oh, this is my mask. I wonder if they have this design in America or not. Like kind
they
of like
do.
the box. They do. Okay, yeah.
They do. Yeah, I have one.
I like the design.
I might have one. Here,
Oh,
hold
really?
on. Yeah, yeah. See the boxy thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got like
This
a
one.
little nice pattern inside too. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. But the numbers are going up in LA, although there's not that many people testing anymore. So
Yeah,
who knows?
and from the pictures, not many people are wearing masks. I mean, that never really caught on anyway. So
No, I heard I had a friend flying back from New York
yeah.
and my wife was coming back on the train that same night that right before her train ride, the conductor gets on. It's like, yeah, they eliminated the mask mandate and they nullified it. So everyone just like took it off. And, well, not everyone, but a lot of people took it off. So she was freaking out and she's like, I'm not taking the train for a while. And then the friend who
Yeah.
was flying back from New York, he said it happened mid-flight and he was pissed.
Oh, they made the announcement and then everyone's like, "Yay!"
Yeah. Not everyone, but like
Yeah.
90% of people.
It's like a celebration of freedom, right? Yeah.
Idiots. It's not like victory Japan or victory or Europe, whatever, right? The end of World War II, you can, it's like, yeah, we won. It's
Right.
like, and that the judge was the bar association deemed her unqualified or unfit to be a judge before
Oh,
she was nominated or after she was nominated by Trump.
oh, oh. That's not good.
No. But the thing is, they said that the mask mandate was coming down, or they were going to get rid of it on May 3rd. So it was going to come down anyway.
Uh, yeah. I mean, Yeah.
So what have you been up to? What is life like in Japan right now for you? You're on Golden Week. I'm guessing you're not teaching
Uh,
classes.
right now it's I don't know if you can see it's raining outside.
Uh,
It's super
yeah.
bright. Yeah, it's
Oh
raining
yeah, yeah.
outside. It's on auto.
And
For now. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm gonna check my mic connection test.
Yeah.
Yep. Still can hear you.
Yeah, it's raining. And I had my booster shot just today, so that was pretty streamlined. They had like a translator there,
Uh-huh.
so I mean, I can speak like basic phrases now, and
That's
I'm
good.
yeah, basic phrases like oh dekimasu, I can do it, or wakarimasen, like I don't know, like stuff that's useful.
Yeah, yeah.
Otera, ote, ote, ote,
Otearai.
oterai, doko desu ka?
Otearai. Arai.
Arai.
Otearai.
Oh, that's like the oh yeah, oterai. Arai.
Arai.
Doko desu ka? Like where's the bathroom? Yeah.
Yeah, because ote is like hand and arai is to wash.
Ah, I guess you can say toire doko desu ka?
Toire.
O
Yeah, toire.
toire doko desu ka? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like toilet, yeah.
But you can say
So,
benjo. Benjo wa doko desu ka?
benjo I don't know. It's like that we can use that for our language corner. Benjo. Is that like I think I know the characters. It's like bien so in Chinese like bien so bien so or something I think. I'll look it up.
Benjo is I think is place.
Ah, right. Like let's see. Like I think it's the same for tokoro, like place.
Tokoro.
This
Yeah,
might be
I
the
think
same
so.
kanji, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cuz if I remember correctly, it's written like this, benso or benjo. I think so. Benjo, maybe.
Not sure. Probably.
I can look it up later, yeah, or yeah. Um,
Now I'm
so no,
curious.
yeah, feel free to look. What has life been? So yeah, the last last podcast was with Jeff. We mainly talked about his experience. As far as like then the podcast before that was with Michael Newman. I had just been in quarantine, so it's been about what 7 months in Japan now since that first podcast in Japan with Michael Newman. So what? Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been good. I'm still getting the hang of things. I think language is the biggest issue. Is like getting used to language and
Hmm.
greeting people, and also certain customs in the workplace and outside the workplace. How to address people is important. But I try not to overthink it too much because then that could be very uh, that could like freeze, like could freeze
Yeah.
speaking at all. Yeah, the fear of uh, insulting someone. I mean, you should have a little bit of that fear, but like not too much that you don't talk, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always go for like the most keigo, the most polite form of speech. If yeah. Um, so one thing that I found interesting was, well, there's a couple things. Like one is the omiyage kind of culture for work. Like, so coming from America to Japan, I bought some snacks and stuff for my
Coworkers.
coworkers and my boss, and I was kind of stressing out like how much do I buy, who do I give it to, but it worked out fine. I just gave it, and they're like super appreciative. And then I noticed like one coworker was like giving omiyage like almost every week, once a week or something like that, or every
What?
other week. Yeah.
Are they taking
And
trips every week?
no, I think it's because they're ahead of a certain division. They're kind of like a manager of sorts. So I
Okay.
think it's her way of showing that she cares. And then I had some coworkers that never gave omiyage, right?
Yeah.
Even if they went on
Omiyage.
trips.
Omiyage.
Omiyage.
Yeah.
So American way, omiyage,
Yeah.
omiyage. Thank you, Dan. And so I just found that interesting because with omiyage, it's there's kind of a bit of social pressure to like I feel pressure like, oh, I'm getting all these snacks from this one person. So whenever I went on a trip, or if I would buy some omiyage for her, but then because she sits at like a certain location with all the other teachers, I have to get something like small for everyone else that's
Yeah.
nearby. And I was just like, man, this is not like, it's not cheap. Well, I can, even if I get cheap stuff, it adds up. If I every single week, or so I
Yeah.
just like, I pared it down. At first, I was like overzealous of trying to be like, hey, I'm a good teacher, and I'm a
Yeah.
good person. So I was kind of overgiving a little bit. But then after a while, I was just like, wait, how come this guy never gives omiyage? And I was like, and they treated him. No one cared if he didn't give omiyage. So I pared it down, and there's a little bit of, yeah. So at first, I think it's easy to judge it as like fakeness, like fake politeness, like giving omiyage every week or every other week. It's nice. It's like, oh, I have something to snack on, between classes. Um, because the reason why, but I think that's a judgmental way. Maybe it's just like one person I saw on like a Reddit or something, someone had described it as like the oil that greases like the relationship. Like, oh, it's just
Yeah.
like something that makes things lighter and more fun between people at work, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the flip side of that where there's pressure to get omiyage, you know, when you go on trips and stuff like that. So I think each person has to find their own kind of balance of how much they want to give or how much they want to spend. Like there's one Japanese guy, coworker, never he went on trips, whatever he was there only. He's been only at that school for only a few years, so that's considered new. And everyone treated him fine too. So it's interesting navigating like that. I basically try not to think too much about it. And basically every school year the teachers change, or they move to a different floor, or they go to a different, some of them even go to different schools.
Yeah.
So that person that was giving me omiyage, she stopped giving me omiyage because she's on a different floor now. She has a different division. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But then like, you know, we don't really say hi. Well, we'll say hi in the morning if I see her, but then in hallways or something in between classes, it's, we're not close. So it's like this person who has given me omiyage almost every week now is kind of like a stranger, you know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's kind of
Uh-huh.
it's a little strange to me as an American, like, wait, you giving me omiyage didn't, yeah, it was no reflection of our actual friendly relationship. It was just more like you're nearby, you're in the same division or same floor, and I get that, I get that she's obligated almost.
Yeah.
Whereas my mentality was like, oh, I would only give omiyage to some people I like, or I'm friends with. But for her, it's like people who are in the same floor working with, and that makes sense too. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going to Japan for work back in the late 90s, and I had to go visit this factory, and the head of that factory was a very important factory because they made like the chips that were the most in demand. So he
Mm.
was basically, I had to grease the wheels there, and I was told that he was a heavy smoker. So when I went to a business trip to Japan or to Canada before my trip to Japan, I bought like this $50 Cohiba. Cohibas are like one of the top cigars, and since it was in
Is it
Canada,
just one cigar or a
one cigar,
box?
one cigar, one
Wow. Okay.
cigar, and it was because it was Canada. They didn't have a trade embargo or anything with Cuba, so it was a real Cuban Cohiba, not like the ones that you get in America. So I brought it back to him, and he was like very appreciative. And but the thing is, that guy was a total heavy smoker. It was not. It was no joke. He brought out like this box of cigars. He goes, "Hey, you want some?" I was like, "No, no, it's okay." He goes, "Yeah, I'm a heavy smoker." And he lit up a cigar. And I don't know if have you ever smoked a cigar?
One time, I did not like it. No.
You're not
Yeah.
supposed to. You're not supposed to inhale. You're just
Oh,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I inhaled. That's why. And
Yeah.
they laughed at me when I did that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're only supposed to keep the smoke in your mouth and then like move it around and spit it out. This guy inhaled. There was no smoke coming out. None. And I like that guy's gonna die. But it did help grease the wheels that he knew who I was. So when I had to call him, I was like, hey, my customer really needs this next shipment. Can you like speed it up? He goes, oh yeah, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas like I guess in the States it's kind of like bribery a little bit. Like
Mm,
it seemed
yeah.
maybe yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like I work at a bank and we have these trainings that tell us what type of gifts we can and cannot give and
Uh
receive.
yeah.
And it's almost nothing. It's like less than 25 bucks or something like that. Anything more than that, you're gonna have to start getting approvals and such.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
You don't want to have that look of impropriety. But in Japan, that's normal business.
Yeah, it's normal business. I think China too. I think Taiwan
China,
maybe as well. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Asia mostly in general is like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because when I worked for that Japanese company, they go, "Oh, yeah, go take your customers out to lunch or dinner, whatever they want to do."
That's expected, like
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's expected. And I remember I took one of my customers, he wanted to go Korean clubbing, and that was not cheap. It's
That's
like
not cheap.
250, yeah, it's 200 bucks to just sit down. And I invited a bunch of friends because my friends were all Korean and I didn't speak Korean, and my customer wasn't Korean. So I had to invite some friends to like break the ice and talk to the waiters and such. And I spent like 550 bucks that night
Oh,
on the company expense card. And that was actually a cheap night considering that we had like 5 or 6 people. So
five. Yeah, if it's less than 1,000, I that sounds like a good night. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, my manager was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Huh, interesting. And this is for the Japanese company, right?
Yeah, for a Japanese company.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, oh, that's no big deal. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like they do the whole, like izakaya slash,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So the what's it called, the nomiya or, so I haven't. So for where I work, my school, like I don't have any pressure to like go out. Like it's a school. It's not
Yeah.
like a salary business where it's a different
Yeah.
culture. Yeah. So I don't have any pressure to like go get drinks with my boss or coworkers or anything. Yeah. I've been pretty, yeah, I think for the most part, what's been good for me is finding a life outside of my work. So I joined a jiu-jitsu club, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu club in Suzuka, where it's like 2 stations away, but from the express train. And that's been helpful. Having my girlfriend, who I like, visit and go on trips with, that's been really good. I think making friends with local Japanese. I think we talked about this before, kind of like we were alluding to it, and I think what you said and what Michael said is kind of true. It is, you'll need like an inside person to kind of invite you to like social
Yeah.
groups. And I think my way in has been jujitsu, so I've hanged out with those guys maybe a few times. We're not like super close, but I know like if I needed like help, or I carpool with this one guy, a purple belt, and he's been super nice, and he can only speak Japanese, so it's been really helpful for my Japanese on the car ride back
Yeah.
to chat with him. And what's surprising is like even if I can't respond, at least I get the gist of what he's saying,
Yeah.
and then or I'll look it up on like Jisho, the
Yeah.
jisho.org, like the Japanese dictionary, and I'll get the meaning. Yeah, yeah. And like a lot of times, like what I found is super useful is I'll just say the English word in a Japanese accent, and maybe I would say 6 times out of 10, there's usually an equivalent, or they'll understand kind of what I mean. Like
Yeah.
take out. Oh, take out though.
Yeah.
Yeah, take out people. They get it. Yeah, yeah.
Did you learn a Japanese word for it?
Take out. If I hear, I can probably. Do you know the word for takeout? Yeah, I can.
Uh,
Now I'm curious.
I want to say demi, but that's not right.
So
Um,
tennai is like eat
no.
in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So eat out. What is eat out?
買って
Yeah.
帰る Buy and go
Yeah.
home.
Eat out. Japanese takeout. Eating out. Oh no, not eating out, but take out in Japanese. Take out, take. So there is a katakana version of it, take out, that which I have used for multiple times. I guess there's also toridasu. That literally means take out.
Because there's like katekairu. Katekairu is like you buy and go home.
Like kaeru is go home, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaeru. Katekairu. Yeah. Take out, please. Oh, here we go. Omochi kaeri. Omochi kaeri de.
Omochikairi. Mm.
Omochi kaeri de. Hai. Or omochi kaeri de onegaishimasu. Yeah.
I'll have to ask my mom.
Yeah. Take out. So, that's been yeah, the language thing. I'm trying, I'm trying to dedicate a little bit of time each day to study. And there's some volunteer classes that are like free for foreign residents that you can just go to that are nearby. So I've been trying to go to that like twice a week at least, and that's been really helpful. Just talking to like a Japanese tutor. I'll bring my textbook and say, hey, I have some questions about this, and we just chat about it. This one older gentleman has been really helpful. He speaks a little bit of English and a little bit of Chinese. He's studying Chinese too, so we can communicate. Yeah.
Does your girlfriend, do you not like have these Japanese conversations with your girlfriend?
Not We speak in Chinese Mandarin to each other.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, we speak Mandarin to each other because we met each other in the language
Right.
at
School.
a language school for Mandarin. So uh, what is it? Yeah, so but like there's some words she doesn't know. She'll say the Japanese one, and then I'll look it up. So in that way, I kind of learn a little bit of Japanese. She's like, "Oh, what's
Yeah.
that word?" And she'll say in Japanese. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
What's a good one? Nodoka. That could be like that means quiet. Nodoka. Yeah.
I don't know that one. I would have thought it was like Shizuka.
Shizuka means quiet. Yeah, but Nodoka is like peaceful and tranquil. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so kind of like it's used to describe nature. Or I went to Hamamatsu recently, which is like pretty chill place. Yeah, they're famous for their gyoza and their unagi, their eel.
Hmm.
So I had eel there, and we sat down and we looked at the menu, and I was like, oh shit! Like there's a fear because
Expensive.
it was 4,000 yen like minimum.
Yeah.
So 4,000 yen. It used to be $40, but because of because deflation and inflation, because of like the yen has been super weak recently. That's
Yeah.
yeah. So 4,000
It's like less
yen.
than, it's like $35 or 30,
Yeah.
32
It's
bucks.
less USD, but it's still expensive for Japanese yen, right?
Yeah.
So um, we're like, okay. So she wasn't that hungry, so she just got a drink, and she's not a huge fan of unagi, anyways, eel. So I just ate, and I just wanted to try one time in Hamamatsu, like they're famous. It was like one of those 100-year-old restaurants that it's been there
Oh
for like
yeah.
generations, right? Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a Michelin rated unagi place in Tokyo.
Oh yeah.
And they have an outpost in Paris as well.
Huh.
But when I went in 2014, they had a small sized one for 2000 yen. So that was
Oh
actually reasonable.
yeah.
It was like 2000, 3000, 4000.
Mm.
And we kind of just stumbled across it. And after we looked at it, they go, oh, yeah, this is like Michelin rated. And I saw the NHK documentary about this place where it was like four or five generations, like
Mm.
over 100 years old. And even during World War II, it was the sauce that they kept going, right? The proprietor during World War II, they put the sauce and all the equipment needed to make unagi in like a hole, and they covered it up because that sauce has been going on forever. And then
Oh.
what they do is like they when they cook the unagi, they dip it into the sauce and then cook and then dip it again. So it has like years and years of like unagi just dipping into that sauce. And when it goes
Oh.
down, they just add more ingredients, but the essential flavor is still there.
Oh, it's still in the container or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So it's like a starter. So with that, they had like two or three different locations.
to avoid bombing and stuff, right? Or yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
mean, after they expanded, after
yeah.
World War II was over, they expanded from like one restaurant to another restaurant and then
Uh,
all the way to Paris.
Oh, I
So
see. Oh, okay. All right, I want to try that out. 2,000 yen is fine. Yeah.
I don't know. That was like 8 years ago. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mission.
inflation's, I'm sure, is kicked in.
Yeah. So Japan's interesting because it's like, from what I understand, for the last 30 years, the economy has been pretty
Steady.
stagnant. Like
Oh,
not really going up. Like the wages have been the same for like the wages I'm getting for my job now were the same when like my brother did it years ago, right?
oh,
For this position,
really?
yeah, teaching, yeah, yeah, yeah. So so I wonder about that because I looked at some videos of, oh, what would it be like to live in Japan long term, and to find work at a Japanese company and work in that culture. The wage is gonna be kind of low compared to the U.S.
But the
Unless,
taxes are
yeah.
lower.
Oh, really?
Income taxes are lower.
Huh. I heard they're
Yeah,
pretty high though, I guess. But you're saying compared to U.S. income
yeah.
taxes.
Compared to US, it's much lower.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to take that into account because, uh, well, you have to remember that you're not going to get, I don't think you're going to get health insurance deducted from your taxes, from your
Right.
salary.
Health insurance is so expensive in America. Yeah, like
Yeah. There's like a bunch of things that don't get deducted from your paychecks in Japan.
hmm, okay.
But I want to go back to BJJ. How is it?
Yeah.
Is it like different in Japan versus like the US?
So what he instructs in Japanese. So I guess that's helped with my Japanese listening comprehension. Like, what's the word? Kata is shoulder, right? So I learned
Yeah.
that, and then make, like the back, make.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So grab from the back, shoulder, and then there's a lot of terms that he just uses in. It's just katakana ego, right? It's like, oh, gado, guard.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But he's really good. Miyamoto Sensei, Grip BJJ, and Suzuka. They're solid group, very, very friendly.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about this a little bit in the Rama episode, but yeah, I think BJJ has a certain culture of like, it's a little bit informal. It's just like slap, bump, fists. Um, yeah, as far as the instruction, it's good for me because like I'm like an old school white belt, so I'm still like some of the technical things I'm not that proficient in. Um, so the way he teaches, he goes from basics and then he gets a little bit more complicated on certain days, or he progresses in the complexity of the technique. So he's a really good teacher, and rolling with him, I've rolled with him a couple times, and it's like he's. I want to say he's much lighter than me. He's shorter, but he wipes the floor. Like I feel like I'm drowning every time I roll with him. So yeah, so his skill level is on top. I heard that he rolled with like one of the Mendez brothers. They're super like high level jiu-jitsu practitioners, and it was like a stalemate according to the rumor I heard.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, between those my sensei and one of the Mendez brothers. So yeah, it's been good. He goes over some takedown stuff, like wrestling stuff, takedown, like so double legs, single legs.
yeah.
So we learn a little bit of that, especially those are usually we do one no-gi, so one no-gi class a week, and then all the other classes are gi classes. So it's all nawaza, it's all groundwork usually. The only stand up is usually no-gi and takedowns. Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
But I
so
mean,
yeah.
is like the instruction the same as in the US in terms of like the curriculum is concerned?
So
Here's what I mean.
yeah,
When my friend played basketball in Japan,
yeah.
if it's like an hour long that they have the gym, 45 minutes of it is doing drills. And then they do 15 minutes of actual game or gameplay.
Ah, you're right, right.
And then I know in BJJ in the US, I don't know for sure, but
a lot of it's just you're just gonna roll. They might teach you a couple techniques that night, but it's mostly about rolling and getting that practice, getting those hours in, right? I don't know if that's true or not, but I went to a judo school in LA, and that's how it was. It's like they might have taught me one technique or two techniques a night, and then the rest of the time we're just rolling.
Yeah, I would say there's a shift. So it's a 2 hour class. And then, so people start coming in nonchalantly, very like, you don't have to be punctual. So, like, the class, people start warming up and doing stretches, but the actual class technique starts like, 10 minutes into the class or 15 minutes sometimes. So, for 45 minutes of a 2 hour class, we're learning techniques like
Mhm.
drills, and we drill that. Then after the techniques, we'll do about, I want to say, 10-ish minutes, 10 to 15 minutes of live drilling, meaning guard passing. So, okay, we learned this technique of how to pass a guard for 45 minutes in different guard passes. Now I want you to live drill, like with resistance. One person tries to resist the other person from passing their guard. So a guard is when,
Right.
when someone has
Yeah.
their legs up again, towards the other opponent and keeping them away with distance, or have them wrapped in their guard with their legs around the other person's waist. Um, with the person on the bottom having their back towards the mat. So then after that, it's just live rolling. So in a 2 hour class, you're looking at maybe warm up like on your own stretching. So the actual like, and then sometimes he mixes up where the warm up time is he'll actually lead a warm up, but usually it's about 10 to 15 minutes on your own self warm up, self stretching, 45 minutes of drilling, then maybe 10 to 15 minutes of live drilling with resistance, and then for the rest 45 to 50 minutes of just rolling. Yeah. Whereas in the US, if I remember correctly, we have like an hour class that I used to go to. We would do about 15 20 minutes of like technique and warm up, like that's combined.
Yeah.
50, yeah, 15. And that can differ depending on the day, maybe, and depending on the teacher. But from one teacher I was going to, yeah, sometimes it'll be that, then maybe 10 minutes of live drilling, passing guard, and then 30 minutes, half the class would then be just rolling. Yeah. And sometimes I had one teacher that was kind of lazy. And I mean, sorry, he wasn't the best teacher, but I had one teacher that sometimes he'd be like, okay, he'll show one technique because he just felt like he wasn't into it. Like you could tell, I think he was going through some of his own personal stuff maybe. But he had like, okay, I'll show you this one technique. Okay, guys, just roll. And then he would go on his laptop, like he'd go on his phone.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't the, yeah, I'm sorry to say, but yeah. No, at first he was good, but I think something maybe happened in his personal life, or, you know what happened was like someone had written something bad about him on like a whiteboard in the class, and it kind of hurt him, and he started getting like paranoid of some of the students. Anyways, yeah, so anyways, his teaching quality just went down from there, and sometimes he would just chat, like he wouldn't even teach, he would just like talk about like BJJ, sometimes not even BJJ, he just talk with the students and like, oh yeah, this one time I rolled with this one person, blah blah blah, and then the class would be like half talking about chatting roughly related to jiu-jitsu, and then like, okay, you guys can just roll. So anyways, that I had a mixed experience in the US, and that's because I went to like I went to a gym where it was like super cheap,
Yeah.
and it had everything I needed. So but I would say that if I were to go to a dedicated BJJ school, because I've been to some of the open mats at those schools, and they seem like really intense, like they're looking to compete, they're looking to go to ADCC, which is Abu Dhabi, or these big IBJFF, like a federation, to
Right.
go compete. But those gyms are like $150 or up, and
Yeah.
sometimes you have to get their gi. Like,
Yeah.
you can't wear someone else. Yeah. Oh, and sorry, but you have to buy our gi, and we really recommend our rash guard too. Yeah. So So yeah, anyways, I think the instruction has been good. I think my jiu-jitsu has gotten better. My body awareness has gotten better. And then in addition to that, I found a gym nearby my place here in Sioux called Sa Arena. It's a pretty nice gym where like I pay for per visit. About the visit per visit, it's only like 410 yen, so about $4
Yeah.
US. And then, but if I buy like a package, like 12 visits all at once, like a
Yeah.
uh,
Booklet.
booklet,
Some.
yeah. That's another thing. Everything's like on paper in Japan. And then if I do that, it's a little bit cheaper, like 390 each visit. And I've been working on my deadlifts and my. Do you lift much at all or not really? I never really. Usually do body weight training, right? I'm doing more squats and bench press, like compound exercises. But yeah.
Right. No, I used to do P90X. I was really into it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I had the Bowflex Select Tech dumbbells, but these days I do more body weight.
Yeah. It's more convenient, I guess. Yeah. It's take you
Well,
your it's everywhere. Yeah.
just yeah, I don't have to lug that thing down, lug the weights
Yeah.
downstairs. They live
Uh,
up here, upstairs, and then I don't want to do it upstairs because yeah, it's just not very comfortable up here.
yeah.
So
So
how's the food out there? Do you like it?
I do like it, but like it's like after with any country, there's a certain the so even when I was living in Taiwan, there's a time where you kind of miss other flavors, right?
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah,
there's a Taiwanese flavor that permeates all of the cuisines. You know what I'm saying? There's a
yeah.
Japanese flavor. Each region is different, obviously, but there's a Japanese kind of flavor that permeates all kind of foods. We were talking about this a little bit, like yeah, that Worcester sauce is in like yeah,
Worcestershire,
Worcester is in
Worcestershire,
how do you pronounce it?
Worcestershire. it's, a, it's it's some weird thing. It's like it's not Worcester. I got corrected many times. It's Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. All right.
the tonkatsu sauce,
Tonkatsu
basically.
sauce. So I'm not a huge fan of it in yakisoba, even though yakisoba is okay. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think what you mentioned about like the cabbage makes it a little bit sour.
yeah.
But like donburi, which doesn't have that sauce usually, you can add it, I guess. Um, donburi, I love. I love
But donburi
ramen.
is like a very like a general term, right? Anything
Right,
over
right.
rice is donburi.
Yeah. So like rice, meat, like a pork, sliced
Yeah,
pork, and cabbage over rice. That's my jam. That's really good. I can make that at home too. It's super easy. Yeah.
Yoshinoya.
Um, yeah, Yoshinoya is great. Yeah. But the thing is, like, yeah, Yoshinoya is super cheap. It's like I would say it's like about 40 times better than the Yoshinoya in
Oh yeah,
America. It's
it's
so good. Yeah.
they use pork there.
They use pork and then um and oh yeah, it's a pork bowl in Japan, huh? Yeah, yeah. Where it's a
It's
or
because of mad cow disease. I heard.
uh
I don't know if that's true, but they made a switch at some point.
so but the thing is that flavor is good, but then you know with anything you
You
get
get
kind of
used to it.
tired. You get
Yeah.
used to it, you get kind of tired. So then once in a while one time I told you about Funky Frank's. That's like the Mexican restaurant. So I went there one time. Just I forgot my umbrella there the last time I went, so I went to go pick it up and bought dinner for myself. But it was like 2,500 yen for like so for Mexican food, which is
Yeah.
unheard of, right? In
Yeah.
Los Angeles, right? But I was like, hey man, I'm missing it. So I'll drop $25 or yeah, $20 on the dinner for and it's okay. Yeah, yeah. So I miss those kind of mix of flavors,
Yeah.
of Mexican food. So I have to go out of the way or spend extra money to have it. McDonald's tastes roughly the same, even though the McDonald's here has different
Burgers.
burgers, right? They have like a teriyaki samurai. They call it the samurai burger, and then they have the ebi, the shrimp
Uh-huh.
fillet. That is delicious, but it's fried, and I can't eat that every day. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
not good for your heart. The Big Mac, that's my go-to. I gotta get a Big Mac once in a while. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if they had it this past Halloween, but the last time I was in Japan, it was during Halloween time, and they had a black burger. And
Huh.
Burger King had it too. I didn't try the Burger King one, but I was like, I'm just gonna try it in Japan at McDonald's before I leave.
Yeah.
And I regret not having it more. It was freaking delicious.
Oh, really? Oh,
They had like sliced garlic that was like fried and put in there, and they had like some sort of sweet garlic sauce.
yeah.
And that thing, it was delicious.
Uh,
I thought it was just a gimmick, but
hmm.
really good.
And like the sizes too are I
Small.
read a blog about this, but like it's true, like this, even the large is slightly smaller than the American large. The large drink is a slightly smaller cup than the
Yeah.
American large cup. So even though you're eating less quantity per se, but like you still feel kind of full.
Yeah.
It's pretty cheap too. McDonald's in Japan, like for a Big Mac meal, it's about 600 yen right now. So about
Oh,
$5,
yeah.
$6. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's pretty affordable. Yeah.
Did
Um,
have you tried the apple pies at McDonald's? Are they still fried? They were fried the last time I tried it.
oh, last time I had one in Kyoto. I think I had one in Kyoto and it was fried. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
There was only one McDonald's I knew of that had fried apple pies, and that was in Marin County, and it was in a
Ah,
mall. It was a random mall,
yeah.
and they had a small McDonald's, and they had fried apple pies. Like, what? It's like some weird thing. And the San Jose airport had it for a while in the late 90s and early
Yeah.
2000s, and then they got rid of that McDonald's. I was like, God damn it.
Dude, it tastes so much better fried. Like,
Yeah.
I can't go back to baked. Yeah. Because, like, is it true? Like, I don't know why, but it feels less heavy. The fried food in Japan feels less heavy than fried food in America. Like, if I have, like, fried food in, like, the deep south of, like, fried chicken, I just feel so much heavier than. Might be the oil or something. I'm not even sure.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the oil, but I mean, if you go to a nice tonkatsu restaurant,
Yeah.
the oil is very clear looking. They don't like,
Mmm.
in America, we kind of just like Americans, they just kind of let the oil sit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Japanese people have this like thing about letting things sit like that. Unless it's like
Uh,
for a purpose, unlike the unagi sauce,
yeah.
this
Yeah.
is completely different, right?
Uh,
You don't want the oil to sit and like be that darker and darker over time.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
I Yeah, that unagi story remind me of, like, they have these places in Taiwan where these night markets where they would, I guess, the what's the English word, like, braise it, like
yeah,
they'll braise stuff and they'll just reuse that same pot with all the
yeah,
flavors in it. I'm pretty sure it's like, I want to say it's a clay pot or some sort of
yeah.
yeah, I think it's some sort
Terracotta
of, yeah,
pot.
earthenware
Yeah.
where it absorbs that flavor. So like so all that flavor is still in the pot, and yeah, yeah, that stuff's good. It's probably not healthy, but who cares? It's tasty. Yeah,
Yes, you just can't have it every day.
yeah, yeah.
But like everything in moderation.
Moderation.
So
Yeah,
anything else new with you? Everything's good?
yeah. I guess one thing that there's a few things that are interesting. I guess want to share was like, and you probably know this, like, so gyms you have to have your own gym shoes, so you can't wear outside shoes into a gym.
Oh yeah. That sounds well, I mean, think about it, right?
Yeah.
You can't when you go to someone's house, you're not gonna wear your shoes in.
Right. Yeah. No.
So the gym is the same thing, right? You're going
Yeah.
to someone's building and
Mm-hmm.
it's indoors
Yeah.
and you want to keep everything clean. And let's say you walk in after going through the rain.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're picking all this crap up and then you go into this gym and it's dirty.
Right. So that was interesting. I had to buy shoes so I could go use them in the gym. I just had one. I have slippers for schools. They have slippers that you have to wear inside the school,
Yeah.
and then I have for going inside the gym. So walking into the space, it's fine. Like the like kind of like the reception area, you can walk in with your outdoor shoes. But then once you go past a certain area they have it's demarcated with like, okay, you can't wear shoes past this point. You have to wear
Yeah.
gym shoes or slippers or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't wear slippers in the weight room though. You gotta wear shoes in the weight room.
Right.
So I was just like, man, I have to prepare all these slippers and I have to have slippers for school. I have to have outdoor shoes, and then I have to have gym shoes. At least 3 pairs of some sort of footwear. Yeah.
But I mean, I remember going to someone's house in Japan and they had slippers for the bathroom.
Yeah, and there's slippers for the bathroom.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm like, man, like, okay, I get it. So like, if you open like a footwear store in Japan, you can you have to I think you might do well maybe if you have a good variety or there's that. Also like cash,
It's
very
king.
cash based society.
Yeah.
So I'm usually carrying like 300 US on me at all times usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's normal,
Yeah.
And I've found 160 US dollars worth of like yen, so 1600 yen like in an envelope on the ground, right? I was like, what the heck? So I returned it to the station, right? At
Yeah.
that time, I think I just returned it really quickly, and I'm like, oh, hey, I found this, and they're like, oh, okay. I think that for that person, he was cool, just me returning it. But then I found a wallet like the next day near the station where there's like 80 bucks US in it, so 8,000 yen or something. And I returned it, and they're like, oh no, sorry, you have to go to the police station.
Yeah.
So I went to the police station to return it, and then when I went to the police station, I had to fill out all these forms, and then there's an option to say if I wanted to, I could receive 10, I think it's like 15% of a reward of what I found if the person is not, if it's,
Unclaimed.
I think no, I can get the money if it's unclaimed for a certain period of time, or I could also request the person who the money belongs to for 10% or 15% finder's fee. And I was using Google Translate, the camera function
Yeah.
on Google Translate to the form, because
Yeah.
I can't, I'm not Japanese, not nearly that good.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I would use the the Google voice function, like, sorry, can you please repeat that? And I'll have the person speak into the phone in Japanese and
Yeah.
have it translate. So that's the gist of what I got. But what was funny is for the wallet that time, the girl, like, she was like, must have been high school or college. She as I was filling out the form, this girl is crying. She walks into the Koban, the police station.
Yeah.
And she's like, I lost my wallet. And I'm like, oh. And then the police officer, he looks at the name. Is this your wallet?
Yeah.
Or like, what? Can you please describe your wallet? Like, it's like this. And then he looks at the identification wallet. Oh yeah, it's you. So as I'm filling out the form, the person who lost the wallet came in, and she's like, oh, thank her and her friend. And the person who lost the wallet was crying. So her friend was like saying thank you on her behalf because she was distraught. So basically what I was thinking from these experiences, like, dang, like I'm not country, but I'm not in the city, basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But even what I hear about Tokyo, and maybe I don't know about your experience, but like it's very common for people to return money or wallets. Whereas in the US, that shit's gone, like,
That shit's gone.
that shit's gone.
Yeah, I think when me and my friend in college, when we were in Japan, we bought like the Seibu baseball cap for the Lions.
Yeah.
We left it at an ATM or bank, whatever, and we forgot it, and we never figured out where to go get it.
Yeah.
But we didn't even know that. Because we were in college, we didn't know that how honest Japanese people were. We just
Yeah.
knew it was safe. So
Yeah.
I'm sure if we went to a local police box, the Koban, I bet you it would have been there.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, and also I think that kind of, it's very interesting because then I wonder if it changes behavior because then the fact that I found so much money on the ground in such a short
Yeah.
period of time, I was just like, oh wow. So either people are very like, because it's so safe, maybe they're just like, they're less cautious maybe. I don't know. I just found like the most money I've ever found in the US was let me think, I found $20 before. I wonder if I want to have I ever found $100? No, I don't think so. Yeah. So the fact that I found that much money is just like wow. So first of all, no one's touched it, and yeah, some people like some Japanese people don't want to be. They're like, oh, the person will probably come back and pick it up, so they don't trouble picking it up or giving it to.
Yeah.
Because so there's another time where I found like, I found $7 worth of money. Okay.
Yeah.
I found 700 yen, 800 yen on the ground. I was like, fuck, what do I do with this? So I'm like, I'm in like this moral predicament because then I think about all the time I have to spend just to fill out a form for $8
Yeah.
versus just leaving it on the ground. I'm like, okay, I'll give it to the Koban. So I went to Koban, and man, like, yeah, they weren't there. I had to call a phone, like, and I have to say in broken Japanese, "Sumimasen, watashi wa koko
Yeah.
desu." Yeah, I'm here, and so I regret that because then I have to fill out the form. It literally took like half an hour just to return 800 yen. I should just left it, and it should have been fine. Yeah. So I get it. Some people, they just don't want to bother with returning it to the police station. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially for
So-
$8.
Yeah, I probably should have just left it, and someone would have got. Yeah. So yeah, those are interesting things. The other thing is like, Japan is not that. This is not like, I think I get it, but there's a lot of things about Japan that's not advanced.
Mm.
You could say the same about America's public training system and a bunch of things, right? But there's some things, it's specific areas. So for instance, bureaucracy, filling stuff out, it's all paper.
Yeah.
Or communication, it's all like my co-teachers will write notes on stick-it notes and put it on my desk, you know? Email? Nah. I'm like, hey, can I just email you the lesson plan? No, just print it out and show me. Like, print everything. I have to print everything out and show. Like, the other day, though, I made a point to, like, because I was still working on a lesson plan, so I brought my laptop to the teacher, and that was okay. But generally, everything is like, you print it out, then you bring it. Or if you want to talk about something, you have to go to their office and speak in person. There's no, like, email communication. There's no like sort of chat system. Whereas when I was working in the US, like, even if the person is like literally, I can see them, their office is right there, takes 2 seconds to walk there, I will chat. Because like me going over to walk with them, that's like not appreciated, I think, in American work culture. I think from the feeling I got when I was working in the US is like, why just, there's a work chat, like there's a work chat for these kind of requests, put it in there so we don't forget and it's not lost, right? Whereas
Right.
in Japan, it seems like everything is like, you speak in person, you write everything on paper, or you print it out to show. And then for signing things, any documents, you need a seal, like any officials, you
yeah.
need a inkan, right?
Yeah.
And you need to stamp stuff, which is same in Taiwan. But like electronic signature, like DocuSign, like that stuff doesn't.
No.
It's not. No.
I mean, I think that's why the fax machine will stick around for a while.
Yes. Yeah. There's a fax number for every business or like major company. Yeah. Yeah. Still. Yeah. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I wonder, is it like because Japan has a very traditionalist mentality? Maybe I don't know. Like, I wonder what are your thoughts on that.
I never really thought about it. I never questioned it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the one thing I did question is like their packaging, right? Everything looks immaculate,
Yeah.
but there's so much packaging waste.
Yeah.
There's a lot of packaging waste in Japan.
Everything's individually wrapped.
Yeah.
Because of the omiyage culture, right?
Yeah.
Because like, let's say you have 10 co-workers, right? And like, if it's not individually wrapped, it's so messy trying to like take a
Yeah.
cookie that's yeah. So I think that's probably why. One time I got akufuku mochi, which is like this kind of purple mochi with like a white kind of sticky
The
center.
lotus paste.
Yeah. But that they are, because it's so sticky and the way it's presented, it's in a softwood box, that it's not individually wrapped, because I think that would ruin the structure of the
Mochi.
treat.
Yeah.
Of the mochi. So when I was trying to give it out, it was like super messy. I think they're like, what is this for? Like,
It's annoyed.
They're kind of like, what's going on? But they thought it was kind of funny. But yeah. So yeah, like even this pocky. So there's like there's two bags of these in the
Yeah.
same. Yeah, yeah. They couldn't just put them all in the same bag. They had to be individually. Yeah. Yeah. So packaging waste, water. Like all the temples, I think it's a spiritual thing, but like in the Shinto temples, you wash your hands and then you
Hmm.
wash your mouth before you go in, and those are running all day.
Yeah.
Like it's just dripping all day. I wonder if it's recycled or something.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's recycled, but you have to remember that Japan has like two tsunami seasons, or two, not tsunami, not tsunami, tsuyu. So basically typhoon seasons, right?
Ah,
In the
yeah,
May, June timeframe, and then again in August, September,
yeah.
where there's just tons of rain.
Uh,
There's
so
a lot
water's
of
not
rain.
lacking. Yeah, yeah.
It's you're thinking of a Californian, right? As a
Right.
Californian,
As
you're
a
like, oh,
Californian, yeah,
yeah, we're always in a drought. But in
yeah.
Japan, there are two seasons of like heavy rain. This is like I have tons of rain.
Right, it's raining right now. Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the start of raining season. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Rainy season.
yeah,
It's I mean it's like a month of like rain. You know,
yeah.
and you get that twice a year, and it's like, oh yeah, if Japan is like in a drought, that means the world is definitely over.
Because there's like like Japan is trying to do the SDGs, was the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN. That's like something that was going around the education department recently,
Uh-huh.
and I think Japan is trying to like, even so, there's still like concern about water scarcity in the future. Yeah, in about like 30 years or
2030.
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was a town in Japan that had almost zero waste.
Oh, really?
They
Huh.
recycled everything. It's
Oh,
like a
wow.
small town though.
Uh,
But you should look it up. There's like one
yeah.
town that made it a purpose to like not have as much waste
There's no trash cans. So
in
there
Japan.
are,
Yeah.
yeah, well, there are trash cans. So let me take that back. There are trash cans, but they're in specific locations, and the
Next to vending
trash
machines
they're next to, so bottles and cans.
have
They have
recycling.
they're recycle. Those are usually those bins are next to the vending machine. So after you drink
Yeah.
water, you can put it in. Or kombinis have waste bins.
Yeah.
Train stations. So I read recently like Tokyo, I think Shibuya, they're trying to remove trash bins out of Shibuya, I believe, of the train
Hmm.
stations. Um, so yeah, that's kind of tough. Sometimes like I always make it a point to, if I get something and I know I'm gonna eat it soon ish, I'll just stay at that location that has a bin, that where I just bought it, and then I'll just eat it real quick and I'll put it in, because
Yeah.
I don't want to take it home and then have to wait a whole week or 2 weeks sometimes, because the trash pickup in Japan is, it's it's certain days of the week are certain items. There's combustible waste and there's non-combustible waste like plastics.
Yeah.
Then there's a separate day for pet bottles, and there's a separate day for metals. So like, yeah, it's, and I realized recently that for like months I was putting my waste in the wrong bin. I thought it was just like, oh, different day, different waste. Okay, I'll do different day, I'll put different waste. But no, it's like that bin is specifically for combustibles, which is 2 times a week. And then if I on the different days I have to go to another block. I have to go a block over to throw my plastic waste and other forms of waste. So sorry, Japan. I think I'm starting to do that now. Yeah, but that's like, that's, and also at McDonald's, right? Like as I'm throwing, we just dump it in
Yeah.
America, right? But in Japan, there's like there's three places. There's plastics, and then there's other waste, and the third one is liquids. So
Oh.
liquids is, you pour it. There's like a funnel that you pour in McDonald's. You pour stuff. So the one's paper, mostly just paper combustibles, and then you have to take the lid off the drinks and the straws. So plastics, yeah, it's just like another stressor. For me, I think it's
Yeah.
natural now for Japanese people. I'm trying to get better at it, but yeah. I'm kind of curious. So it seems like you've been to Japan
multiple
multiple
times.
times. Yeah. I'm kind of curious about like what your trips like, and kind of like how were your stays, and so when was your first trip to Japan, I guess? Yeah.
My first trip was like when I was 3, so I don't remember shit.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was 6, I remember like hanging out with some cousins and building Shinkansen. But it's like a very, at this point, it's like 40 years ago, over 40 years
Wow.
ago.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh,
then I went.
Shinkansen's been around for 40 years or 50 years?
It's
Okay.
Shinkansen's been around for a long time,
Ah, okay.
and I used to put my cousin had like this gigantic, um, they had like tons of those blue track. Have you seen the Shinkansen or the model trains that they have in Japan? It's like really cheap plastic, but it's very easy to build a lot. We actually have
Oh,
some, and it's
oh,
like it
yeah,
runs on a C battery or whatever.
yeah.
Um, but then and I I don't think it's as common now, but they had beetles, like rhinoceros beetles and
Oh,
these gigantic Goliath beetles or whatever as
mm-hmm.
pets. And I used to want one, but they were like expensive. And they're
Oh,
really scarce now, so it's even more expensive.
ah,
But they had like the rhino beetles and stuff. Um, but when I was in high school, my junior year of high school, in between my junior and senior year, I went to Japan for a month. And I stayed with my mom's best friend, and that was interesting. Just staying in the countryside and all that stuff, going here and there.
is that in central Japan or southern?
Yokohama. It
Yokohama.
was in Yokohama. Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
outskirts of like city central. And then
Chinatown, Yokohama is pretty popular. I went
it's
there.
very
Yeah,
big.
it's huge. Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
have you gone?
I went. Yeah, I went a couple months ago to Yokohama,
The
Chinatown.
food's expensive.
Food's expensive, but like it's decent. Like for yeah, I had some sandong dishes, like some spicy beef and veggies stir fried, and it was pretty good. I was like, oh yeah, I miss that flavor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
and then I went right after after I started college. I went again for like 2 months or 3 months. I got like a job through my work, my other summer job. The the CEO's wife was Japanese, and her dad was the CEO of another Japanese company, like a big Japanese company.
yeah.
And then I asked my boss wouldn't do it, but the wife was like, I'll ask my dad, no problem. And we got like this, me and my friend got this gigantic salary, and he like put us up in the dormitory and stuff. We were in the
Whoa,
countryside, and so we were walking around with like $1,000 every weekend when we went out. We just had
whoa.
like a stack of money, but that was fun. I got to know like I was very bad about keeping in touch with those friends or the
Yeah,
people I made friends with in that company,
yeah.
which I really regret. I was like stupid. I was young and stupid.
Wait, this is
Um,
in your 20s now, or
yeah, like I was 19 or 20.
wow? With a
So I
thousand
was,
US on the weekend, that's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It just felt like that. I felt that was like the normal thing to do,
yeah.
but it is whatever. Um,
What
when I
was
was
the
like,
job exactly? Yeah.
I was working at it was an engineering company. They made
Uh,
like pneumatic valves, and I was in the testing department. So
okay.
they would just like rip apart things for figure out what went wrong, or they
Hmm.
like to test a bunch of things. Um, so working at a Japanese company in Japan was pretty interesting.
Okay.
Everybody went on break at 10 a.m. It's like a bell rang, like you're at school. Everyone filed out, and they would
Yeah.
go, even if they weren't smoking, they would just get a canned drink to drink and then
Hmm.
go back after 15
Ah,
minutes. It was
okay.
funny.
That's
Lunch
dope.
was always the same. Lunch was kind of crappy. And then so we were there in Tsukuba on the weekdays, me and my friend. And then on weekends, on Friday night, we would take the train for like an hour and a half to go back to my aunt's place in Yokohama.
Yeah.
And then that we would just like go from Yokohama, go all over the place. And then
Nice.
Sunday night, we'd take the train all the way back to Tsukuba.
Scuba, where's that?
Tsukuba is outside of Tokyo. It's like
Ah,
another hour or something, or 30 minutes outside of Tokyo.
yeah.
And, and then the next trip I had must have been when I was in my first job out of college, and that was for a week. And then I went again after I graduated from business school, and I went there for a few days. Saw my, or no, I went after the first year of business school. Everyone had to take a trip somewhere. Everyone at USC.
Huh. Okay.
So I chose Japan, and I stayed there for a week for school, and then I stayed another week to go see my mom and see other people.
Mm.
So that was pretty cool. And then the next time was after I graduated. My friends, we took an Asia trip. We went to Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, China,
Mm.
Thailand. But yeah,
Nice.
and then I went back for my grandmother's funeral in
Mm.
2007, and then the most recent trip was a family trip, 2014.
Oh, cool. And that was Tokyo area mainly, or Yokohama, or
Uh, Tokyo, Yokohama. We went to Osaka and Kyoto, and then oh, I did take a trip in 2006 with one of my friends, and he's
mm.
Japanese. So I spent a week with him. We went to Hokkaido, Tokyo, went all around there. Then I went to go see my mom. He went up to Osaka, and then I went home.
So I'm trying to remember your mom's in Central. Is she Yokohama or?
She was in Yokohama,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but now she's here.
now
Yeah,
she's here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So there was like
Uh,
one more trip. Um, at this point, I still haven't seen the Sea of Japan. I still haven't gone to Shikoku.
Shikoku, yeah, yeah. That's near Ehime, I think, or I'm trying. Wait, no, Shikoku.
It's like the fourth major island.
Ah, yeah, Shikoku. Shikoku, yeah. And you've been to Kyushu then, yeah?
I've been to Kyushu. That was when I was a teenager. I went there
Ah,
because my friend was in Japan at the same time, and his family were all from Kyushu. So I took a Shinkansen first to Kobe to go see some friends, and then I went all the way to Kyushu, and I hung out with them for like 3 or 4 days. We went spearfishing, which was kind of
whoa,
cool.
whoa.
And yeah, the Kyushu people speak a little bit different. It's kind of
Hmm.
funny. Yeah,
And
I I remember going to this theme park called House Tempos. It's um a Dutch theme park.
huh.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah, there's a Spain village in Mie Prefecture. I haven't been to, but I guess it's a popular tourist spot here.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's considered exotic for Japanese people, right? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I do
uh,
want to go back and go see the Sea of Japan. I do want to go to Akita at some point. And then
uh,
there are a bunch of shows that I've been watching lately about taking small local railroads.
oh
And
yeah,
then
you show yeah.
yeah,
I took some of the. I was in Hamamatsu recently, and yeah, I took some of those trains. Like one of them was called. It literally said "Slow Life" on the in English, "Slow Life" on the
yeah,
train, and that was cool. But like, uh, it wasn't cheap though. It was like
no.
each ride was like 400 yen,
Oh
and like
shit.
so that's like $4 each way.
Yeah,
So then in one day you could be spending, if you're doing like 4 trips, 5 trips, that's $20.
yeah,
Like yeah, yeah. If you're like traveling, I guess if you're working, you're only gonna make 2 trips, right? So,
yeah.
but yeah. Um, no, I think the Golden Week's coming up, so I'm trying to figure out what my plans are. I think I'm planning to go to Nagoya, which is only like an hour away tomorrow, to check out maybe the zoo. And a friend invited me to an aquarium. I made a friend at Japanese class, a volunteer class. He's what is he? He's Peruvian,
Mm,
and then, but I think his mom or his dad is like Nikkei Japanese, so he's half food.
yeah.
Yeah, so he invited me out. So yeah, I think yeah, that's one thing. I think from your trips to Japan, then like, was there any sort of thing that stood out? Like, what made you keep going to Japan? Was it just the food? Was it more like, was there any fun like stories or experiences that you had from all those different trips?
Yeah, I mean, it was always fun, and then the
Yeah,
food was always good.
yeah,
I didn't appreciate the food until college, but I remember that college trip when I was working at that company. One of the guys said, "Hey, me and my friends are going to go to the mountains this weekend. You should come with us. We're
yeah.
going to go drifting." I was like, "What's drifting?" And this was 1992 or 93. I was like, "What's
Oh,
drifting?" And then they just brought us to the mountains. It was like the initial D, and they set up like cones in the parking lot, and they were like practicing, figure eight drifting and stuff. And one of the cars was a Subaru Impreza. No one in America drove Subarus at that time, right? It was
Oh,
very
okay.
unpopular. And they go, "Oh, you should drive that car. You should ride in that car. Not drive it,
Yeah.
but ride in that car."
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a loaner from the dealership because the guy who was borrowing that car, his car was in the shop to get repaired. I go, "Hey, are you allowed to do this?" He goes, "Yeah, don't worry about it." And then so they burned out the transmission. It was like overheating
Oh
because they
shit.
were like, yeah. And then, but it was my first experience with drifting, and they didn't go through the mountains or anything, but you could see like all the other cars racing in the mountains. These guys were just practicing in a parking lot. I don't know how they um were able to get this parking lot all to themselves, but they were able to do it.
Uh,
And I rode in the passenger seat of a Lancer, and that was pretty interesting because it's all-wheel drive, but it's like four-wheel drive. So the front wheels were like, when he went around, the front end would just pop up and down like this, and then you go straight and turn and pop, 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 and go straight.
oh,
So
were
it was
you
a little
scared at
freaky.
all, or?
No, but it was fun. But in that same trip, um, some other this other co-workers, they go, "Hey, we're gonna go ghost hunting. You should come with us." And then, so we spent one whole night on Saturday night. He like picked us up with his friend, and we drove all around Tokyo and Yokohama to all these well-known haunted places, and we took pictures to see if anything came out of it.
Oh my gosh.
And as we were driving there, they would like tell us these ghost stories, which was awesome.
Were you speaking Japanese at this time, or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow, that's great. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I want to get to that level where I can have like casual conversations like that, or talk about ghost stories. Yeah, I'm not there yet, but yeah. There's a word for that, right? There's like courage testing. There's a word for that. I forget the Japanese word for that.
I don't know that one. I just know that
Courage.
it was fun, especially
Yeah.
during Obon week. You're going to be there during Obon weekend, and that's when a lot of the TV shows have all these ghost related things.
I guess summer is ghost season in Japan, I believe, right?
August,
Some August. Yeah, yeah.
Obon, and usually
Obon.
during Obon.
Kimo dameshi. Kimo dameshi is a test of courage is the word. Yeah. Kimo dameshi. Okay.
Yeah, I've never done it, but it was just fun. And then Obon is definitely fun. And then I miss like the snacks. And then also my mom was like living in Japan, and my grandmother was living in Japan up
Hmm.
until like 2007. That's when my grandmother passed away, and my mom moved here in 2019. So
So you got to see her, and
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I guess you're as far as most familiar, you're most familiar sounds like with Yokohama, I guess. Yeah.
Yokohama, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any recommendations for Yokohama? I guess there's Chinatown, right? Or
Oh yeah, next to Chinatown, there's Kannai, and then there's like a yeah, very famous there's a famous tonkatsu place called Katsuretsu An,
Hmm.
and they've been around since like 1950.
Hmm.
It's delicious. Uh, yeah, and then
I love
there's like
tonkatsu.
a mall near there too called Minato Mirai,
Hmm.
I think. Yeah, there's a Ferris wheel or whatever, a giant
Oh,
Ferris wheel.
that's famous. Yeah, yeah. My
But
girlfriend's like afraid of Ferris wheels though. It's like she doesn't like the swaying. Yeah.
but
Um.
yeah, overall, I mean, it's just fun. And then there's like always good food, and everything's seasonal. So when we were there last time in the fall, Haagen-Dazs released fall flavors. They had
Ah.
chestnut flavored ice cream and sweet potato flavored ice cream.
Yeah. So that's another thing about Japan is like they have every store has some sort of seasonal flavor that comes out. So even
Yeah.
McDonald's, like McDonald's has what is it? There's this spring one recently. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's kind of like a saucy burger. It's
Hmm.
um, it's tatemai or something like that. I forget. But it's okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but there's seasonal stuff flavors there at McDonald's. Baskin Robbins is popular here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
But they
not
have
cheap. Yeah, it's not cheap. Yeah,
but they
Baskin
have
Robbins.
so
Yeah.
many different flavors of a lot of things, right?
Mm.
You go to Starbucks, you'll find like different flavors. I'm sure they had like a cherry blossom flavor recently for Frappuccino or whatever. But there are
Mm.
things that you cannot get in the US.
Mm.
Just like their car, I don't even know how they're mass producing their cars because there are so many different variations of like a Honda Accord.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know
There's
if you've
a
actually looked at it. There are like two or three different variations of a Honda Accord, and two or
Oh,
three very different variations. They have like so many different types of Toyotas. When I last went there, so many different types of Toyotas. I was like, they only sell like 3 or 4 models in the US or whatever of sedans, but they had
right.
like 5 or 6 in Japan, and the US market is way bigger, but we had less variety.
Yeah, it's interesting because the place I do jujitsu at, it's not too far from the Honda factory, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of there's actually a large population of like foreigners that
yeah,
live in that in Suzuka area because of the factory. They have like workers
yeah.
from different countries there, like a lot of Brazilians that live in that area. So yeah, I wonder. Maybe I'll ask one of the people that trains. He works at he works somewhere in the supply chain for Honda. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll ask him about that.
yeah. I just
Yeah,
don't know how that works.
yeah. Uh, I guess one thing I was wondering, like as far as getting along with people or culturally, did you notice a difference at all when you were? Because I've already said some, I guess some of my my things is that I still feel like there's a little bit of distance, but like to break that distance, it takes time, I guess, or the
It,
language is a huge thing, and also, um, yeah, just kind of like gaining trust is a big issue. Whereas I think like in the U.S. it's kind of like easy to be friends, but also it's easy to flake. I think like it's easy to make friends, but then it's easy to lose friends. In the I don't know. That's something I've heard,
yeah.
and I thought about that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I think in Japan, they're just like we were talking about. You just have to get to know somebody. Usually, there's like one more outgoing person,
Yeah.
and then they will actually start introducing you to other friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it was when we were at the factory. Like this one guy, just like he was very interested in learning English, and then or just wanted to practice English, and we just started talking. Just super nice.
Yeah. Cool.
So
Awesome. All right. So it's about hour ish.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you wanted to chat about or talk about? Yeah.
Mm, let's see. I will feel. I do say that now that I'm at this age, 48,
Yeah.
finding a new job, totally difficult. It's super hard, and
Mm.
I've been going through an interview cycle.
Yeah.
Um, I started teaching kung fu more on a more regular basis on Saturdays to my kids and his friends.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you've ever encountered this, but one of the parents, I don't know if he'll ever see this podcast or listen to this podcast, but he just showed up after like the second lesson. The first lesson his wife brought the kids. Second lesson he came. He was doing it with the rest of us. He didn't say thank you for the lesson. He doesn't introduce himself at all. He just goes, "Hey, do you teach defense against white male aggression?" I was like, "What?" He goes, when some guy comes up to you, I was like, "Dude," I go, "Yeah, this is what I do." He goes, "What about if they headbutt?" I was like, "This," and then so I was like,
Uh,
I was kind of like surprised because it's been so long since I've dealt with someone like that.
yeah. Yeah.
And then I started doing push hands, and or I was showing joint locks, and he was like trying like struggle, and I knew I could feel it, I could see what he was doing, so I just like made sure I put more pressure and step back, right? And he goes, "Oh yeah, I can't hit you at all," And he's like throwing kicks and throwing punches, and I'm just like controlling him. I was like, "Oh man, what's with this? What's wrong with this guy?" And then so I started doing push hands, right? Because I haven't done it in a long time because you're gone and I don't go out and see anyone. And I feel okay doing push hands now with a mask on still, and I show him a little bit and he goes, I'm doing it like, he's a beginner, so I don't care. And he goes, "Yeah, if you take me in, I'm gonna take you with me." I was like, "Yeah, that's what you should do." But he's like starting to get aggressive. The next couple of times I just threw him on the ground. He goes, "Oh, you did that so easily." I go, "Yeah." And I moved on. But
Yeah.
I think he was just like testing to see if I could actually use what I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, he said how to defend against white male aggression?
Yeah.
Is
Very
he a
specific.
is he an Asian guy? He's a non-white person, I'm assuming.
He's half white, half Chinese. But if you look at him, it's like you can't tell. Some people you can't tell, right? And I was like, what's wrong with this guy? And it just bothered me so much. after the lesson was over, I was like talking over with my friends. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, yeah. Trauma. He's got trauma.
He's got
he's
trauma, but
he's
god
got.
damn it.
It sounds like he's on like the David Cho spectrum or something of like craziness or yeah
White male aggression. I just like looked down, I was like, oh man, should I talk to him? And the next I was like, should I talk to him and see what the fuck's wrong? Because but then there was like some time that passed because he got sick or his kids got sick and he got sick, and then the spring break came, and then in the last class he was actually very chill. He was like, oh
oh
yeah, and it's like so I think he was just like making sure that I knew what I was doing, or I knew what I was doing, and just wanted to
mm.
test me.
Well, because you're taking care of his kids, right? You're teaching his kids, so maybe there's that aspect of it. Like I
Look,
want to make sure that my kids are not learning from
uh,
one of
yeah, an
those
idiot.
no touch woo woo fucking senseis. Yeah, yeah.
That's true. But the thing is, like, I told the wife, I was like, I'm not going to charge you for the basics. Once you guys get past the blocks, kicks, and punches, the basic stuff and the stances, and the very, very, very basic form. And once you want to learn more chole foot, I'm going to start charging you that. So
Yeah.
right now it's still free.
Yeah.
And then if you're not paying for it, which is like my mistake, I should have just made them pay something at the very beginning, because it would like eliminate a lot of this bullshit.
Yeah, I remember I was studying Bagua in Taiwan, and the teacher, he's Gal Bagua from he's the teacher of Robert J. Arnold, who we've
Yeah,
had on this podcast, and he used to teach for free, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, but the thing is that it would just he get a bunch of non-serious people just trying it out, and
yeah,
they would just like, and they some he's like once some people someone he just started charging like a small amount, like maybe like 30-50 bucks a month or something like that, and
yeah,
um just by doing that, just like changing it to pay a minimal fee for training a couple times, for multiple times a month or something, it reduced the turnover and also reduced like
the crazies.
the crazies. Yeah, yeah. So there's something to that, there's the flip, there's the other side of the spectrum, right, where there's people who are charging 200 bucks a month or something for like stuff that's, you could probably,
Find on YouTube, yeah.
yeah, find on it's like it's not, I would say yeah, it's maybe only worth it if like, I don't know, that's a tough sell, yeah, but yeah, because there's some Tai Chi schools. I know there's, one in New York that's like 200 plus bucks a month. Or I'm like, really for Tai Chi? I
No,
get it. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like so Chinese food gets put down because it's not as prestigious as like French food or European food because it's cheap, right? It's
yeah,
like it's yeah. So maybe there's some element of that, like the money value. So yeah. Anyways, I think there might be have to a small paywall
yeah,
is helpful, I guess. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
so I mean, what do you think his issue was, you think?
I don't know. There's
Yeah.
definitely some sort of social awkwardness with him. So
I'm curious about why, cuz you seem like pretty like nothing really phases you. I'm kind of curious why this particular incident seemed to bother you so much. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah.
um, no, things bother me. I just don't outwardly talk about it too much.
Oh,
But this one was just like it was just like out of nowhere,
yeah.
and it's not as if I couldn't respond, but I just didn't understand what the fuck was going on. I couldn't even process it right then and there, right? I never had someone come up to me and ask specifically about white male aggression.
Maybe he faced white male aggression during the pandemic, and he was just like, you know what? I want to make sure this guy knows how to specifically diffuse that kind of aggression. Maybe I don't know. Yeah.
It
um,
was so specific, so it
yeah,
was just
that's so.
really odd.
I do think like martial arts, yeah, it there's it's wrapped in because martial arts is about violence, you know,
Yeah.
and how to defend against violence, but also how to inflict it. And there's a lot of there's some people who have dealt with physical violence in their life, physical trauma, that they seek out martial arts, maybe for not some of them, maybe not for the maybe for the wrong reasons. Maybe they want to be able to inflict violence because they have received violence.
Yeah.
So you get like those guys who want to challenge people, like I want to challenge you because, you know, like those late time matches. But and that's more of like maybe an ego thing, right? Anyways, I guess one thing before we go, I think we touched on this before about like communication, right? So
Yeah.
I notice in Japan there's like the forward facing thing, tatemae, and then there's the what you really feel. I
Yeah.
guess you know, one good thing is with my girlfriend who's Japanese, we've been pretty open with communication. I think for the most part, we've uh, there's a certain directness I think that comes from uh, other Asian cultures, like the Chinese culture, Taiwanese
Yeah.
culture. Taiwanese culture is a mix of like Chinese and Japanese, so there's a mix of that kind of directness and indirectness.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to navigate that in my communication because I've recognized that in my own father sometimes is like indirect. It's weird. It's like sometimes he'll be indirect, and then super direct. Like it'll build up, you know. Like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe he had this feeling of, you know, and I've noticed that I've noticed that in my brother too. Sometimes there's like some guy wasn't. There was like an issue with some guy delaying on rent, and he was like, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine. Where's my rent?" You know, like,
Well,
it's like,
it's like
yeah,
it's like a movie though. If you watch Japanese movies, there's
yeah.
always that one time where someone like blows up and everything gets cleared up and then they move forward, right? There's like a lot of like
The
no one's
climax,
saying
yeah.
anything. Yeah, no one's saying anything. You know, there's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding, and then something happens and someone blows up, and then they have like this big pouring out of like emotions and real thoughts, and then they move on. But have you ever watched Mr. Baseball?
No, is that a recommendation that you recommend watching that, or Mr.
Well, it's
Baseball?
with Tom Selleck, and
Okay.
he goes to Japan as a baseball player, and he's trying to navigate the whole culture thing. And one of the things that I remember is that if you go and get drunk with your manager, you can tell him anything you want to his face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you go out and drink with your section chief or whatever,
Yeah.
and you get a little bit tipsy, you can stop. You can have real
Uh,
talk.
right, right. I think the other part of it is also male female, that stuff with any culture, any
Yeah, yeah,
relationship
yeah.
is that can be like how's communication for you these days? It's pretty good or better. It's always a work in progress,
Mhm.
I guess. Yeah.
It's always a work in progress because I
Yeah.
still retain a lot of the things where you just I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but I know it's definitely something my mom does is where you just you make adjustments, right? If something like makes if someone has a criticism, you just take it and you make an adjustment and just move forward, right? It might
Yeah.
bother you, but you just keep on going and just like, okay, this is how I have to do it because that's what they're expecting, without actually discussing whether or not it makes you uncomfortable. You just like, suck it up and just do it. So
Mm,
my wife
yeah,
is not
but
like that.
like you don't want to resent the person though, right?
You
Because
don't, but the thing is like,
yeah.
you, you kind of like stop resenting it as long as like the criticism isn't like repetitive, or if there's like there's no different or there's no different change, right? Like the whole goalposts aren't moved. Like if you do it this way, because you said you want it this way, and you keep on doing it that way, but then if you receive criticism for doing it the way they asked for, then the resentment happens, right?
Okay.
So you say, okay, for example, just really basic. You go, hey, the tree is brown. The tree is brown. Okay, got it. Tree is brown. Yeah, look at that brown tree. Look at the brown tree. And then they go, oh, that tree is not really brown. It's actually a reddish brown. It's just like moving the goalpost just a little bit. But now like I'm like, fuck, dude. I've been like training my mind to say like the tree is brown, but now you're saying it's reddish brown. I was like,
Right.
It's just like a slight difference. And then the next time it might be, you know what, the tree is red. I was like, fuck. Why do you keep changing it?
Yeah, I guess it's like, okay, taking your analogy, like, okay, so for now we're agreeing it's the tree is brown. Uh, like, so let's say, for example, okay, all right, we should get a color that matches the tree, so we'll get some brown chairs, and we agree it should match that brown tree. But you're like, oh wait, it's a reddish brown, but I thought we agreed it was a brown tree.
Yes.
So I already got the chairs. Like,
Yes, yes.
so I mean, it's an income. So that's when we start discussing negotiating. Okay, so I've already put in some effort into this agreement that we've agreed on. So one thing I noticed with my talking with my girlfriend is that, yeah, I think when I say something that might be a little bit too direct, or I recognize that sometimes she will not be in the, so what I want is feedback, right?
Yeah.
Even if my ego takes a hit, I want to know. I don't like it when I say something that might be hurtful, the person clams up, there's this awkward tension, there's maybe resentment, and does nothing gets solved, there's no communication. But then over time, it might build up. Luckily for my girlfriend and I, it's something, and I think this happened in past relationships too, is that it's really important to like eventually clear it up. But I recognize now that even if I want that feedback right in the moment, like, wait,
Yeah.
why are you all quiet now? She is not maybe ready to give me that feedback. She needs
Yeah.
time to process that anger,
Yeah.
that hurt that I've inflicted, unintentionally. Obviously, I'm not trying to hurt her. Like, oh, I'm not. For example, I'm not saying I would say this, but like, oh, that dress is. I don't think you should wear that. So something, I didn't say that, but for example, right?
Yeah.
Something about her appearance or something like that, maybe offhand remark that I think is inconsequential, but could be very hurtful to her, And I recognize now that sometimes people need time, and you give them that time. So, and she told me that, and I realized that, okay, I get it. And I realize that sometimes when I get angry, I need that time to process too. And even if I were to give feedback in that moment, it'd probably not be helpful. It'd probably be hurtful, like,
Yeah.
how dare you, like, so I think that's a big part of also like martial arts and meditation is that sometimes giving like uh, a just like a jerk reaction to like a certain stimuli, maybe it's not the best reaction. Maybe you have to, like, with push hands, you listen, and actually there's a better reaction. It's not necessarily the knee jerk reaction that's best. Sometimes
Yeah.
that takes training, right, and listening, and patience. So, anyways, that's something I've recognized is giving the person time to either give the feedback, and maybe it's not necessarily on the timeline that you want, but guess what, the other person's human too. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they can't just be like a robot and tell you what you want right away. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, any other last thoughts?
No. No. I got to get ready for bed because I wake up at 4:50 in the morning.
What?
Yeah, for work.
Holy shit. Okay.
Because I want to start work at 6 and get done by 3 p.m. every day.
Wow. Okay.
So
All right.
I'm on that
Oh, that's crazy. You're like on the Dwayne Johnson schedule. He wakes up like at 4 well, he works out in the morning, I guess, or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's his job, right?
That's his job. Yeah, to stay fit. Okay, so yeah, language corner. Yay. We went over some words. I wrote down some words. So kimodeshi is like kimodameshi. Kimodameshi is like courage testing. Yeah, and nodoka is like Japanese for tranquil. And then yeah, we've mentioned a bunch of foods like donburi, and what okonomiyaki. I guess you're a huge fan of.
I
Is
am.
it? Yeah, okonomiyaki. Yeah. Can you cook? Do you know how to make one though, or?
They have mixes you can do. You can just go to the store
Ah.
and buy the mix and then chop up the cabbage and then it's like pancake.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's like a pancake.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Any word you want to share, or?
No.
No. All right. Signing off. Thank you so much for listening. This was this was educational and hopefully fun for you all. And signing off. All right. Stop
See ya.
recording now.